Hello everyone, this is the Mental Health for Life channel. He is a diligent and accomplished man with a good education and work history, but after getting married, something seems different. He's laid back, talks only about himself, and the conversation is one-sided. Even when his wife is having a hard time taking care of the children, he doesn't help her, instead playing games or spending time on his phone, and doesn't say a word of appreciation. Complaining only leads to fights, so the wife can no longer expect support from her husband. Husbands who cannot understand their wife's feelings like this may have autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a developmental disorder in which a person is unable to consider things from others' perspectives, leading to lack of empathy. It's a type of developmental disorder, but in very like cases, it may not be noticed during childhood and only becomes apparent after having a family. In this video, we will introduce 5 signs that one's husband may have ASD. 1. He doesn't try to understand his wife's feelings. He cannot read the atmosphere of the situation or understand the feelings of others. Therefore, he cannot discern his wife's difficult circumstances or her cry for help. For example, even if she is sick in bed, he does not say anything to comfort her and goes to work as usual. When she asks him to buy something for dinner because she cannot cook that day, he only buys enough for himself. This is not because the husband is cruel, but because he cannot read the atmosphere and thinks, I don't know what she's struggling with, or she hasn't asked for help, so maybe I don't need to do anything. He is not good at reading people's feelings, so he cannot understand them unless they're clearly explained in words. 2. Talking one-sidedly only about things that interest him. He only talks about things that interest him and struggles to listen to the other person, with a tendency to negate the other person's opinions and emotionally push his own views. The wife has no choice but to be the listener. However, if the husband talks on in a one-sided way, it is better to gently intervene. On the other hand, if there is something the wife wants to say, it should be clear and concise. In fact, it may be easier to get the message across in writing, so using tools like social media or notes may be helpful. 3. Having his own rules. There are self-imposed rules in his daily life, such as eating the same thing every morning, wearing only the same type of clothing, and shopping exclusively at the same store, and he adheres to these rules. He also brings his work atmosphere into the home and does not join family gatherings. He spends a lot of time alone, absorbed in activities like using a smartphone or playing video games on his own. People with ASD are sensitive to change, and their own rules are necessary for them to feel secure. If these rules are not followed, they may panic and suddenly burst into anger. However, if a rule makes the family uncomfortable, explain the situation well and encourage him to consider changing it. 4. Sensitivity to sound, light, and smell. Such husbands are sensitive to small noises that most people would not even notice, such as the sound of a door opening and closing, footsteps on the floor above, or construction work in the distance. They are also sensitive to smells and brightness. This is called sensory sensitivity. Some husbands are also sensitive to touch and are averse to physical affection. For example, such a husband may quickly withdraw his hand when his wife tries to hold it, which can hurt her feelings. 5. Difficulty with children. He finds child rearing to be the most challenging area because things don't always go his way. He may explode with anger at his children or avoid coming home using work as an excuse because he doesn't want to see them. He struggles to understand how to interact with his children and thus cannot take care of them. In the end, child rearing falls entirely on the wife's shoulders, often becoming a significant trigger for her health problems. The stress of living with a husband with ASD can lead to the wife experiencing depression or other mental issues. This is called Cassandra syndrome, and the wife may only become aware of her husband's disorder when she visits a psychiatrist and the doctor points it out. Making the husband aware of the disorder can greatly reduce the wife's burden. However, taking the husband to a medical facility is not as straightforward as it may seem. ASD in adults is a relatively new concept, so there are no reliable guidelines for testing and diagnosis. For this reason, different doctors may have varying opinions. A diagnosis can be made if the patient feels difficulty in communicating and it impacts their work or daily life. However, if the husband denies having a problem and says, "I'm not sick," even if the wife perceives something unusual, then a diagnosis may not be possible. Nevertheless, if the wife understands the disorder, she becomes less angry at her husband's behavior, realizing that these are symptoms. This, in turn, can improve the husband's mood, and he may gradually start listening to his wife more. Surprisingly, the husband had never truly understood why he was so disliked. In the process, the husband and wife can gradually come to understand each other and establish roles and responsibilities within the family. People with ASD may struggle with emotional empathy, but they can intellectually deduce and understand other people's feelings. Also, they generally do not engage in behaviors such as lying to their spouse for financial gain or cheating. They're not prone to betraying others. This was the Mental Health for Life channel. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.